So I hope you liked this video. For more information, click the link in the description.
Made this cable by just cutting up a set of starter cables, and then I did something wrong, I can't remember what, and I had to put it back together again. And for starters, it's a bit too long. It needed to be back then, but it doesn't need to be anymore. And I don't know, these crimped connections look kind of dodgy. I don't think it's showing off on camera too well, but it's kind of oxidized. So I'm gonna re-crimp this cable just on the other side of a clamp and probably cut it down to size. Maybe make it about 50, 60, 70 centimeters long rather than well over a meter. And just gonna give this a quick check. I don't think I'm gonna redo this connection. Maybe recut the wire, if that. So, looking at these cables, it's pretty apparent that they are of horrible quality. We can see how they've oxidized on the inside of the cable, which isn't really that big of a problem. But due to that, I have decided to clean these up quite a bit and to actually solder the cables in place after I crimp them, because I wouldn't want any oxidation to occur in the crimp after it's been crimped, which would increase the resistance of a connection. So that's what we're gonna do. Got a strong soldering station for a reason. There we go, nice and shiny. That's not going anywhere. Also, if you're going to do this, don't forget these. And just because these are horrible cheap clamps, I'm going to add some soldering braid between here and here to help lower the resistance of that joint there. And there we have it, our new UPS cable. This looks quite a bit fancier than the old one. I did look through these and they seems to be still fine. They are pretty much, the starter cable runs to the end of this connector and the Anderson cable runs to the other end, so it makes a good connection. Anyway, let's see what resistance we'll have on this cable, since I do own a milliometer. From the solder joint on the positive side to the Anderson connector. So we're down to 2 point something milliohm, or a let down in the limit of what this meter can measure. Or say 3 milliohms of the positive lead. And the negative, we were down in 1.29 there. Yeah, I'd say this is under 2 milliohms. This meter only goes down to 1.29, so I'd say that's quite okay. The contact resistance in the battery clamps and the Anderson connector is probably going to be more than what you get in the cable. So I'd call this project a success, although I should have measured it before. Alright, so these batteries have gotten to rest for quite a few hours now, 2 or 3. So let's see what we got for OCV. 13.336 on that one, and this was odd. 13.305 in the other one. Now that's a result I can be happy with. I don't think we were up in such high voltages before I did this little load thing on them. So now's the time to hook them back up with a new cable and see what kind of runtime we get. Now there we go, isn't that fancy? The cable is just as long as it needs to be to get for the batteries. So no unnecessary losses. The last cable essentially went round 1 or 2 times like that before going to the batteries, and combined with a bad connection at the clamps, that probably didn't help too much. I also raised the flow charge voltage on the UPS because I realized that in my ignorance I had set it way too low. Anyway, moving on from that embarrassing detail, let's see what this thing can do. So we've got APC test loaded, and let's see what kind of runtime I think it's gonna get with just my 500 watt lamp connected. Runtime left 85 minutes. Well, that's kind of reasonable. I think I must have reset it. I thought it calibrated itself down to almost no runtime at all. Anyway, I'm gonna go into the configuration mode and raise the battery constant anyway to make it think it's gonna run for ages, and then run a battery calibration to get it down to a realistic level. Well, there we go. I set it to think it's going to run for 2 hours with 500 watt load, and that's about 1 kilowatt hour out of the batteries, so there's no way we're going to get that through out of even 2 new cheap car batteries. Anyway, let's get going. Humming along nicely. I think we have quite a bit more voltage here than the last time we did this, but I guess we're going to find out. I'm also timing this on my phone. It could be a complete failure too. The batteries could have gotten worse, but let's hope they didn't. Anyway, gonna let this run, and I'll check back once it dies. Well, the batteries have kind of stabilized at 24.42 volts, and they are recovering a bit of voltage. They were down to 24.2 just a little while ago, so that's more than can be said about the last time I did this. Well, there we go. It ran for about 27 minutes in calibration mode before it shut down and went back to charging. It doesn't drain the batteries completely this way, but I think that's an improvement over last time when it just ran for a few minutes. So I'm quite happy with it. I mean, it's about twice as long as, well, a bit more than twice as long as the 15 amp hour batteries run, so if we do really crude math, these are equivalent to maybe 35 amp hour batteries, but I'd wager these batteries aren't as good as those AGM batteries at supplying current for a long time, so yeah, they're not in too bad shape, I'd say. They could probably have been better cared for. I made a mistake by the way I set it up, but hey, this is gonna translate to maybe an hour of runtime with my normal setup, so that's alright. If we take a look at the values we get out of the UPS, I just refreshed this. It thinks it's 41% loaded, and it's gonna run for 21 minutes with a 500 watt load. So that's almost an hour, a bit under an hour, to completely deplete the batteries with a 500 watt load, and my computer uses maybe 200 watts tops. So I'm happy. These batteries are gonna last me at least another couple of years. There we go. About 200 minutes of runtime I'm supposed to get out of these batteries with just a normal load, my computer, stereo, monitors and a single light running off it. Granted, this isn't the most energy efficient setup, what with 2 transformer power supplies running off it, but I'm fine with 207 minutes, especially considering that these are 2 5-year-old 55 amp hour batteries that I paid a total of €90 for, brand new. So with all the UPSs finally out of the way, I took some time to clean up underneath my workbench and try and reorganize the cables a bit, because it's essentially just been a bigger mess on the floor here, and I'm kind of happy with the result. As if the goal, but I wanted the floor free of cables, and you can see this one cable running, and that's the one from the UPS to my main computer over there. I didn't have a long enough UPS cable for it, but I've ordered one that's gonna fit. So that corner hasn't been clean. Well, it hasn't been this clean since I painted the room, which was a couple of years ago, because it just got filled up with crap right away, and I literally haven't vacuumed underneath it since. And it's probably gonna get filled up again because I've got too much stuff in here. Probably gonna end up shoving a few LCD monitors underneath there, because I'm getting tired of stumbling over them all the time. So there we go. Everything's back in order. The nice empty space has been occupied by iMacs and monitors. And above all, I've reconditioned my batteries, which I wasn't expecting to do. I had set the float voltage for these batteries to a way too low level. I did this back in 2009, and I didn't ever really think about it. So they've been floated at about 13.2 volts, which is just ridiculously low, and I didn't know any better back then. I'm happy that I managed to recover pretty much the full capacity of these batteries by just cycling them a couple of times and charging them up to a fairly full stage and giving them that strong shock with the 50 amp power supply. So everything turned out well in the end, I suppose. But yeah, I'm not going to make this mistake again. However, having dealt with this much faffing about my own UPS, I've gotten a few ideas about how to make my entire workshop a bit more efficient, because this setup really uses a lot more power than it needs to, and I've ordered some things to help me improve that, so we'll see if that amounts to anything.